Funding for New Mexico in Focus provided by the McCune Charitable Foundation. And viewers like you.
This week on New Mexico in Focus, Melanie Stansbury is headed to Congress after the CD1 special election.
You showed up and you showed that democracy matters, that science matters, and that we believe in our people and our future.
Plus, the outgoing photo editor from the Albuquerque Journal shares favorite images from the past 35 years. New Mexico in Focus starts now. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm your host, Gene Grant. We have a fascinating conversation with Dean Hanson, who spent parts of 5 decades taking photos for the state's biggest newspaper. We'll ask about Albuquerque's new Home for Life marketing campaign, which looks to attract remote workers and former Burqueños back to a city that's already facing a housing crunch. The Light Opinion panel weighs in on New Mexico's vaccination rates and its brand new sweepstakes for those who get a shot. They'll also talk about Albuquerque's problematic homicide rate. But we begin with the congressional special election that might define Albuquerque for years to come. An open congressional seat, a polarized electorate, a new president, and a razor-thin margin in both houses of government. The special election for New Mexico's first congressional district could have been a nail-biter, but it ended up as a blowout as State Representative Melanie Stansbury hit the 60% mark in her first race for the U.S. House. The Light Opinion panel is here to talk about the significance of that victory. Former State House Minority Whip and Line regular Daniel Foley is back. Owner and founder of Vox Optima Public Relations, Merritt Allen, joins us, as does former state senator and progressive strategist Eric Griego. Now, Daniel, maybe the margin of victory surprised some people, but did the race ever, at any point in your mind, ever feel close?
Oh, no. I mean, look, that district, that the majority of that district that makes up that House district, when I was in the legislature, almost overwhelmingly that side of Albuquerque was all Republicans.
Right.
Today, you have Bill Ream. You have one Republican that lives over there. So, clearly the demographics has shifted dramatically, which doesn't surprise us in Albuquerque. What does surprise me is the lack of effort from the Republican Party for the only race that was going on in the state of New Mexico, and a race that had huge consequences nationally. So, do you have a chance? Well, I can tell you, if you don't show up with your full team, you definitely have no chance. If you show up with a team ready to compete, you may have a fighting chance. I think what we're seeing in New Mexico is that the Democrat Party is energized, is fired up. They got things to be excited about. I'm not sure why, because they got Eric Griego in that party, but apparently that's enough to get him excited. The Republican Party seems to be Steve Pearce all the time, 24/7. I mean, there's word on the street that he's already, talking to folks about running for governor. So, they seem to have spent more time trying to figure out how to have a freedom meeting in Amarillo than they did preparing for a open congressional seat. And the reason that's important, regardless of whether you think that the Republicans have a chance to win the seat or not, is that data is extremely important to go out and recruit candidates in the future, right? As you're seeing all of this stuff going, when you go knock on somebody's door, when you go knock on somebody's door to go take on one of those Democrat candidates, when you go knock on Merritt Allen's door and say, Merritt, you should run. Look, Mark Morris ran ahead the curve, ran ahead of Trump. He did this, he did that. Here's all this information for your legislative district. You should be a good candidate. Now you're going to sit down and say, look, Merritt, you should run. And, we just had a race that we got shellacked even worse than we did in the presidential race. Right. So you've really prevented yourself from recruiting candidates. And I just think it highlights the ineffectiveness and the complete lack of a Republican Party in the state of New Mexico at this time. I mean, it's clear the Steve Pearce marketing machine. And at the end of the day, we're seeing the results of that. He guaranteed a win for Trump in New Mexico. That didn't happen. We lost seats in the legislature. We haven't, we had this open congressional seat that we lost worse than we lost when we had a less named Republican candidate at the time. You look at Mark Morris, in the Albuquerque area, he at least had some name recognition. So, I think there's a lot to look at.
Let me jump in, Daniel. You mentioned Mark Morris. I do want to pick up on that with Merritt for sure. I'm glad you brought that in. The candidate has to be discussed, Merritt, of course. He's taken some flack from more conservative Republicans out there for being not conservative enough, I'm not quite sure what the argument here is, but this is a longtime Republican stalwart. He had name recognition. He's been around. What happened here in your view, Merritt?
I think the biggest problem is, and if you look at U.S. House Republicans, they have gotten too close to Lauren Boebert and too far from Liz Cheney, and they're running on one script. And the Yvette Herrell script will not play in Albuquerque. And unfortunately, that script has been a failure in Albuquerque the last 3 election cycles, which is why we don't have any Republican legislators in Albuquerque. Mark Moores knows this district. And if you remember his first ads that came out with the UNM football team, and they were funny, it was his personality, and it talked about his record, that will play in Albuquerque. What's clear is the New Mexico GOP has no idea what's going on north of Socorro. And as soon as the professionals took over and you saw the more professional ads, and it was angry, it was bitterness, it was divisive, and Albuquerque stayed home, or they voted for Stansbury, who to me, perfectly nice, forgettable candidate. I don't remember any of her ads. NRCC didn't put any money in this, obviously. And the script that so many House Republicans use doesn't work in Albuquerque.
Let me ask you this, Merritt, and Dan brushed up against this as well. Where was the NRCC? It was the only race going on. I mean, I got Politico up on my screen here. Big screaming headlines. Dems breathe sigh of relief after New Mexico blowout. I mean, this was a highly watched election. And it seems like the folks at the national level couldn't have cared less for the Republican side of it. Am I wrong here?
If you look at the fundraising, no. More than 2 to 1, or more than 2 to 1, 1.3 million to what, 595?
Right.
505,000? Yeah. The national money poured in on the D side, not on the R side. NRCC, I guess they're focused on their incumbents. They're supposedly obsessed with retaking the House, but not in New Mexico.
Right, exactly, and we're a fairly cheap market on top of it. Hey, Eric, I talked with Joe Monahan on yesterday on Wednesday on a Facebook Live about how much room Ms. Stansbury will have to maneuver when it comes to policy. What I mean is progressives love the bona fides this time around and how she got in office, but it's going to be trickier when she gets a term or two of experience. Any certain demands that can't be avoided for progressives here, or is she beholden now to progressives? How does she move going into the general at this point?
I mean, I think she has a pretty solid record of, she has a good, solid progressive record on, she's a climate change expert, is what she's dedicated a career to. On most issues, paid sick leave, minimum wage, the kind of the bread and butter progressive issues, she's been great. But she also, I think, made some overtures during the campaign to, working across the aisle, and certainly was focusing on things like infrastructure that were, much more sort of middle of the road issues, I think, right, that aren't, can't strictly say they're progressive issues. But I just want to pick up on something that Merritt said. Like, this is, it was shocking to me that, when there's no other competing races, it's one thing when the campaign committees for either party have a lot of races and they have to really pick and choose where they put resources. This was the only game in town. And the fact that they didn't, at least nobody who follows politics in this area thought that there was a chance that Mark Moores was agreeing. Certainly I didn't. The question was, how big was the win going to be? And I was shocked. The biggest win, I was looking at the past cycles, a bigger win than Biden had. It was a way bigger win than Deb Haaland had, who was very popular. Right. So I think I have a sort of a different take. I think it was the messaging, and maybe this was what Merritt was alluding to, is that I think it was a repudiation of this whole, one trick pony, like this all crime, all anti-immigrant, all the time message that Mark Moores bought into. I think it turned off in a district like this. It just turns off a lot of voters. But I think it is a signal to upcoming races, the mayor's race and the next statewide race, that going all in on this, fear, lot of race baiting around immigration issues, around sanctuary cities, a lot of anti sort of activists, just a lot of
the Breathe Act.
Kelly Melanie and Radical is just, I think, again, it's a good talking point from the GOP playbook nationally, but it just didn't jive with reality. And I think the Republican Party has a real problem in the upcoming races because, when everything, crime and immigration is your only tool, and hammer's your only tool, and everything looks like a nail. And I think that's what Moores did. That's what we heard from a lot of the legislators that were running in these swing districts who lost, right? They ran on the same message. So I think that, I hope there's a lesson there for them. I don't know if they're going to learn it. We'll see.
Dan, I got a minute left. I wanted you to pick up on Senator just a second ago that we've got Morris and Ronchetti both now not punching through using the same playbook. You know, what's up with that? Is there anything else Republicans say or do or propose to win votes in this?
Yeah,
district?
I mean, a minute's not enough time. I mean, Eric likes to throw out the great platitudes, and I love being on the show with Eric about the playbooks and all of that stuff. Look, nothing works if you don't build the foundation for it. If you don't lay the foundation, look, telling someone that they're there for sanctuary cities and you're against it, you need to make sure you're laying the foundation to get people to buy into that kind of stuff. And I think the reason that the National Republican Congressional Committee is not involved in this race is because the state party's not involved in this race. I mean, it's a top down approach, right? If you're looking at in Washington to be involved in a race and their own state party is not putting resources in the race, why are you putting resources in the race? So I think all of these things, I'm not sure that it's a repudiation of conservatism and Republicans, like Eric is singing from the mountaintops, which he should be because he's winning right now. But I think what it is it's a repudiation of the way the Republican Party is being run right now, and the fact that the Republican Party is all geared towards electing Steve Pearce for his next run. And I think that you're seeing all these bodies laying on the side of the road from this because they're not committed to doing what needs to be done to build a party. And that's where I think we're falling down. The Democrats seem to be building a party and the Republicans seem to be building a one-man show.
We're out of time on this one. By the way, if you're still jonesing for politics, we have all my post-election chat with Joe Monahan on our New Mexico in Focus Facebook page.
It's incumbent upon us and our partners in economic development to work with, our developers to ensure that, that there is housing available as we recruit the workforce to Albuquerque.
Dean Hanson came to New Mexico in 1986, ready to document the news for the Albuquerque Journal. Over the next 35 years, he saw history through his lens, and of course, everyone who picked up a paper saw history that way too. Last week, the now photo editor at the Journal called it a career. He sat down with senior producer Matt Grubbs to share some of his favorite images.
Well, Dean Hanson, thanks so much for coming in. So mid-'80s, 1986, right? Mm-hmm. And you're looking for a new job, and you're in Fort Wayne, Indiana. What about the Albuquerque Journal brought you here?
Well, I was aware of the photography the Journal did back in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I attended a photojournalism workshop in Missouri, and I met a couple of guys from the Albuquerque Journal. It seemed like a real different world. I'm originally from farm country, Fort Wayne, Minnesota, Grand Forks, and I thought, if I'm ever going to make a real change in my life, this would be the time to do it. I had never been to New Mexico. I didn't really know anybody, but I thought, this sounds like a great opportunity to really make a different change in my life.
And boy, did it turn out that way, I'm sure.
Who knows how it happened? You just show up for work one day and all of a sudden it's 35 years later and you go, where did that go? It was so much fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of those things that I think it's hard to explain to people. Why do you do this? Why do you keep doing this when the industry is shrinking or something like that? But
it's so funny. I have seen so many changes over the years. When I was a kid, I started out shooting pictures with a Polaroid camera. It was called a Polaroid Swinger, and you'd pull out the little photos and look at them. Well, that's pretty cool. I eventually got a real camera through high school, shooting 120 roll film, 35 millimeter, color slide, color negative, digital, scanning. It's changed a lot. I don't see it changing as much from here on out.
Sure, yeah, that switch from film to digital was massive. Well, you've been kind enough to share some of your favorite images, some notable images some ones that make you laugh. So if you'd indulge us, we'll just sort of go through them. Johnny Tapia, I mean, I don't know that there's a more iconic New Mexican for a lot of people. Tell us about this one.
You know, he had a lot of trouble, but to anybody who knows him or knew of him, he was a great guy. I happened to go down to Rio Doso at one time. He has his own gym down there. And every time he'd see me, he'd give me a hug and call me brother. And I'm like, Johnny, really? I'm just a camera guy. And he goes, no, it's always great to see you. So he was a really good soul.
Yeah, what a, you know, there's no one in that business, I'm sure, without ego, but that also gets foisted upon you. You get nicknames, and next thing you know, you have your mural at your own gym.
Yes, I think I'm going to do that at home.
There you go, that's great. So this next one, this was actually not in New Mexico, right?
This was in Denver, I want to say 1993, when Pope John Paul II came to, I believe it was the World Youth Day. It was a series of meetings for Catholic youth in Denver. And of course, it was quite a deal waiting in the pouring rain to see who was going to show first. Apparently there's a protocol. One lands, one hides, one gets off the plane, then the other comes out.
Interesting.
But the youth were so enthusiastic, they wouldn't stop applauding. And that's when the president turned and applauded him too.
That's great. And clearly touched by it.
Yeah.
Is it I know those kinds of events are so ordered and so formal that it's sometimes hard to get the feel of the event because you're just sort of in this little pen. Were you able to sort of
Well, you know, when you wait so long and it rains, then kind of all bets are off because, well, maybe we will get something different. You never know. It's the variables that make it interesting.
Sure. So this next one, I love this one. So this is Gary Carruthers, right?
Yes, Gary Carruthers. Oh, that must have been in the 80s. He and his wife were taking a tour of New Mexico in his classic Mustang in order to promote tourism in the state. And up at Coronado Monument, he got to try on the Conquistadors outfit.
Okay. We were laughing when we talked about this before. It's sort of Dukakis in the tank almost.
Right, but he's always such a good character, a very nice guy, and he was up for anything photo-wise, maybe not as cautious as people are today.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And this next one is an example of that. So this is obviously an elementary school, must have been here in Albuquerque.
Yes, I think this was Read to Me Day, and the governor was reading Green Eggs and Ham to these students, and it made such a nice picture. She had her hat on too, but she set it on the floor and took it off when she saw the camera. I thought, well, I really would like you with your hat on, but they make decisions. That's the difference between her and Gary Johnson, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
Gary Carruthers.
Oh, yeah, sure. And I recall, when John Kerry came through here, Bill Richardson took him through one of just kind of the touristy Western shops.
Right.
And somebody was telling me a story about he grabbed a hat, a cowboy hat, and started to put it on, and then thought better of it and set it down.
Yes, they calculated everything.
So it doesn't matter the party, that's for sure. Well, obviously there are going to be some somber ones in here. So this is Oklahoma City. How back in the day, newspapers, especially the Langs, because they had access to a plane of their own, they would go everywhere. They would send it everywhere, right?
And it was a real interesting when you'd get a phone call and say, you got to head to Qatar Aviation right now. They're getting the jet fueled up. And you always knew what it was because if it was big, we were going to go.
Sure.
Oklahoma City was, people there were concerned that their city would get a bad reputation because this happened there. I was pretty astonished. I heard a radio station call out for knee pads, elbow pads, gloves for the rescue workers. And this went to this lot, and this mountain of equipment just appeared. And I shared that story and said, do you really think us telling this story is going to hurt the reputation of your city?
Absolutely. Sure. So here they're clearing floors, you said, and they would hang that flag out.
Yes, once there was no one left on it.
Sure. So here's one, a real notable event that I didn't clue into until you walked me through this picture, but this was sometime after, right?
Yes, this was in the aftermath of Katrina in New Orleans. And the only telltale thing is that oily line on the building. These two gentlemen are rehabbing, I guess it was a daycare center.
Okay.
And they were taking a break, and something about that line told me, you know, was kind of iconic of how deep the water had been there.
Sure, sure. Well, we, one of the things, you know, that you notice is you have an eye for regular people, and this is a great one. You're laughing because everyone knows where this fence is in Albuquerque, right?
This is probably the most photographed fence in Albuquerque. All the staffers have done it. I've done it with homeless people pushing shopping carts, people on bicycles, people walking by with umbrellas in the rain. I just love this fence. The simplicity of it just catches your eye all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Great stuff. This one, of course, the legislature.
Actually, this is a group of clowns waiting for maybe 4th of July parade to begin in Rio Rancho years ago. I may be the only person that loves clowns, but I just think they're so cool.
That's great. Yeah, just this moment of regularity with them is a lot of fun. This one, of course, just the juxtaposition of voting a couple days after Halloween.
Yeah, in the old Rio Rancho was at the Civic Center auditorium. They'd had a haunted house in there the week before, but they left the painting on the wall, and so I saw a picture there. You just move it around and get the arrow in the right place.
Right, exactly. This one I love. How did you see this?
You know, the thing is, I saw him every day, every school day. He was a crossing guard, and he'd stand there and jam out to his own music. The crossing sign bothered me a little. I should have cropped that out, and then I thought, no, that tells the whole story of why he's there.
Sure, sure. And yeah, it's fantastic, definitely. Some of these are just really terrific. This one, of course. There's a great story behind this. We're
okay,
of course,
so
almost out of time, but go ahead.
Okay. No, I pulled into the Taco Bell and saw the guy painting, and I saw him come down 2 windows over, and I thought, oh, I missed the picture. And then he moved the ladder to the next window and did that one, moved it. By then I'm out realizing my cheesy potato burrito can wait, and then I shot this picture.
That's terrific.
But to see it come together, when I first saw him coming down, oh, he's finished, I mixed it. And then he moved it to the next window. Oh, okay, I'll take this.
That's a happy moment for sure. He must have loved that.
Yes.
That's wonderful. This one, of course, especially now, you're not going to go a year without shooting celebrities or some sort of movie. So.
Right. And this was Ray Seahorn and Bob Odenkirk shooting Better Call Saul. And I don't think what comes across on their TV show is how much these two enjoy working together. They genuinely have a chemistry and work off each other.
And this is after a scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
The camera isn't rolling.
That's terrific. Dean, we're almost out of time, but I want to get to, I'll go through some of these, and we'll take some time and do a web extra. But some of your court shots, obviously here with Nigel Benner, here with an aunt of a victim. But this shot, this is one that really gets me as being...
Yes, and we've seen this so many times in the court when a young offender is accused of a serious crime, and the pain in his mother's face. We don't know the backstory, but this is something we don't always realize, is how much this hurts the family, you know, of the accused, not just the victim's family. So.
And you see that in a courtroom a lot. You know, it's a fairly sterile environment, but there is emotion to be found, certainly.
Yes, there is.
Man. Well, Dean, thank you so much. As I said, we'll take some extra time and we'll put that online for folks and get through the rest of these. But thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed talking with you again, Matt.
You bet.
According to the State Department of Health, nearly 66% of New Mexicans have had their first COVID-19 vaccine shot, and almost 56% are fully vaccinated at this point, and that's welcome news as new case counts and pandemic deaths continue to dwindle. But experts warn that it's not enough. They want the state to hit 70% and soon. To that end, the governor recently announced a sweepstakes with $1 million split amongst 4 people each week for 5 weeks, and get this, a $5 million grand prize sometime in August. Eric, did you sign up? That's my first question.
I did.
Did
as
you?
As a matter of fact.
Right on.
I mean, I didn't, I got vaccinated early, and, my wife and I, and even my son who's 12, we all got it.
Yeah.
So, but, why not sign up? But I will say, compared to what, some other states are doing, my father-in-law said, what would be good to get some of these folks who are anti-vaccine or anti-government, offer them a firearm. And guess what? That's what West Virginia and some states are doing now. They're actually offering firearms, because that's kind of the target audience they have to go after for the folks who don't trust the government. So it's interesting. I mean, at least we're not offering that. We're offering hunting licenses, fishing licenses, things like that to get people to go. Look, I mean, it's troubling on the one hand, because there are a lot of folks all over the world who just don't have access at all to the vaccine, that we have to do so much to try to get people. But I will say New Mexicans have been, I've been really proud of the work we've done to be willing to be vaccinated, and that we're almost at 60. I think we'll be at 60%. And, we moved to turquoise. So every county in the states really had lifted restrictions. So I think whatever it takes to get people on board. I do think, $5 million bucks might be excessive to folks. I've never won a lottery in my life, so I'm not holding my breath. But I think anything we can do to get some of these folks who just, for whatever reason, don't buy the science, don't trust the health department, to get off the dime. If as my friend Dan would say, using market-based solutions to get people to do things, maybe it works in this case, right?
That's well put. I like that. Merritt, seriously, I got to ask you, what do you make of this tactic? I mean, California had this enormous pool. They did sort of the same thing, $1.5 million. They had like a $115 million pool to pull from. But then we're talking about federal money. We're talking folks who paid into this, old ladies in Iowa, New Hampshire, Florida. I mean, is this just free money to hand around? What do you make of this?
I mean, I know, like, it's not even cool for Republicans to be, fiscally conservative anymore, but is it possible that maybe there's just too much federal money in the state at this point where, like, we don't know what to do with it? So it's like, hey, let's have a sweepstakes. Come on. This is ridiculous. And of course, like, don't even consult the legislature, because that would be crazy. Let's not even do that. But yeah, I signed up. For sure.
Except that the ideas come from a bunch of Republican states. I mean, Ohio did it. All the states that were the ideas pioneered are all Republican states. So
I don't even care. But it's not even a market. It's not even a market-based idea. It's just, we've got so much money, we can't get it dispersed fast enough. You're handing it to people to not go back to work. We can't even allocate it fast enough. So it's just. It's kind of mind-boggling, and we're doing okay with our vaccine rates. I mean, I guess it's better than setting it on fire, but this is as a nation, we're going to be in inflation for the next 15 years, and we're going into an infrastructure plan. I don't even want to get started. I'm really pleased with our vaccination rates. I'm really pleased that despite rates going up, and I guess we're just throwing out the science, and we're all in turquoise now. We're moving forward. I hope people take this seriously and continue getting boosters. I think vaccines important. I think the sweepstakes is, though, a bit much.
I got to tell you. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Gene, I was going to say, the one thing I'm appalled that I've heard all day today, that just shocks me, and I'm just absolutely, it just tears at my inner fiber is when Eric Grego says he's never won a lottery. I've met Eric's wife, and that man did win a lottery. He won a big lottery. So
I'm going to make sure she watches.
For him to go out and say he's never won a lottery, Eric, you won the biggest lottery of all, bud. I'm just telling you.
Nicely done. Nicely done. I'll make sure my wife watches it. She's
right.
going to watch it, but she never watches it. But I'll say you got a shout out on the line from
There you
Dan,
go.
so she definitely tune in.
I do have a question for you, Daniel, though. You know, state Senate Republicans, of course, were pouncing all over this, saying the governor, and I'm going to quote here, usurped legislative authority to rehabilitate her image, end quote, when she took all that federal dough. Do they have a point here? I mean, you know, she's everywhere on television now, and, you know, you'd think she was running for an Academy Award versus an office at some point.
What governor hasn't?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like this is news. I mean, every governor, gets their, look, I got to tell you, the most, I don't know about you guys, but my biggest pet peeve is every time I drive around the state of New Mexico, there's these big orange signs that says, thank you, Governor so-and-so, whoever the governor is, for building our roads. And thank you, this is another investment project. Remember, we had Governor Richardson's investment project. Thank you, Governor Susana Martinez, for building this road. Last time I checked, not one of these people put a penny into building that road. It's the taxpayers that built the road. So, to say that we're, to quote Gene's favorite movie, Blazing Saddles, there's gambling in this establishment. I can't believe this. Yeah, I mean, the governor, the budget the governor gets is pretty tight, but there's also a decent amount of discretionary money. And for years, if I remember correctly,
decent amount. We're talking about a ton of money here, man. I mean, a lot of money.
Let me finish, Gene. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Their discretionary portion also comes from any money that's incurred from the feds outside of the appropriations process. So there's a lot of that's not incurred in the budget. That the governor's office actually does have a lot of the opportunity to spend on things they need. They just, in the past, you didn't see the windfall of money coming in that you're seeing now. So you may see some legislative action taken to tighten up that kind of ability that says, hey, listen, here's the budget, because it takes into account all the federal dollars, and anything extra, you kind of can do what you want. That was kind of pennies from heaven in the past, but now it seems to be truckloads of money that are coming in.
That's right. Well, that's going to be discussed a lot as we go along. Eric, I got to follow up on something Dan actually mentioned, that there's a tendency that we tend to think those who aren't getting vaccinated at this point are doing so on purpose, meaning a political statement. Is there a segment, I'm not sure if that's right or wrong, but is there a segment of the population that either doesn't want to bother, doesn't trust vaccines regardless of the politics? And how does a lottery overturn all of that previous thinking? That's the part that's so confusing to me. Is this the way to do it?
Well, there seem to be these groups, the folks that just philosophically, ideologically, they're not going to do it. Then there's, we have friends like this,
Right.
Who say, like, I'm going to wait, I'm still not convinced yet, and then there's folks who just honestly don't have access. I think we're doing a good job of trying to get anybody who wants it, even though there's some rural areas where we really have to do a better job, and tribal communities, so on. But there's a group of folks, and they're not super political. They're just like, there's still this sort of reticence about it. And so I think some of them might be moved by this. I mean, I think I'd rather see the money going into some other things too. But like at this point, I think that the thinking is, the self-promotion aside, I think the thinking is we've got to get to a rate where we can sort of get back to normal. And you're seeing governors all over the country, Republicans and Democrats, saying like whatever we can do. I can think of a lot of better ways to spend $5 million, frankly, but if it's working in Ohio and it's working in West Virginia and it's working in some other states and it seems to be getting people off the dime, then, I think that's certainly people are trying it. So, what are you going to do?
There you go. We'll see how that plays out. That'll do it for this go round, though we'll be watching when the state starts announcing the winners.
No one's really tried to fix the culture of law enforcement here. If you look at the hostility to the DOJ reforms, the millions of dollars we're spending on it, and still very little being done, the opportunity to bring in a fresh approach from a different city.
Mayor Tim Keller's Economic Development Department is upping its investment in the city's ABQ Home for Life campaign. It targets former Burqueños and remote workers and urges them to move to Albuquerque. The city says response to the program has been robust, but even for those who already live here, finding a place to call home is a competitive business. Senior producer Matt Grubb spoke with Economic Development Director Cynthia Jaramillo about how she'll measure success and how the city hopes to bring people to Albuquerque without crowding out existing residents.
Cynthia Jaramillo, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to join us. I wanted to start with who you're targeting Home for Life to. You said when you sort of revealed the expansion of the program that you're looking at people who used to live in Albuquerque and people who can work remotely. What's the thinking behind those folks?
Sure, certainly. Happy to jump in and talk about some of the goals and the targets. So we received very promising early data for the campaign. And like you mentioned, we've expanded our Albuquerque Home for Life campaign from 4 to 11 target cities. The campaign is now also targeting San Francisco, Denver, Phoenix, Dallas, Seattle, New York, Boston, and Washington, D.C. And program performance measurements really show interest and engagement above national averages for advertising metrics. So in just 6 weeks, the campaign's digital ads received almost 34 million impressions and have resulted in nearly 100,000 visitors to the Albuquerque Home for Life website. And so the two target audiences are the remote worker who can really work from anywhere, anywhere across the globe, frankly, and also those boomerangers, those that have left. Maybe they graduated from New Mexico State or the University of New Mexico or Tech, and they decided to leave Albuquerque. And so we are looking to engage those that lived here. We're looking for them to move home.
Okay. You mentioned that early success, sort of getting eyeballs on the campaign. What are the metrics that you're going to be looking toward now as the program gets a little bit more mature in terms of actually getting people not just looking at the website, but making moves here?
Sure. So one thing, so total impressions, I'd like to mention just very briefly, since the campaign launch, total more than 27 million. And so these strong early metrics and major announcements from Intel, Netflix, Orion, Amazon, among others, really indicate that our efforts to bring jobs and workers, to bring the workforce to Albuquerque are starting, this decade on a far stronger path for growth than last. And some of our future plans include, so this summer, we're expanding our reach to a number of film festivals across the country. The next one being the Sedona International Film Festival. And as the campaign continues and grows, we will analyze the data and make strategic decisions about next steps, as far as increasing the campaign's impact in certain cities, backing off in some markets will happen, or expanding to a new set of, geographic areas and really. And so we will analyze as we move forward with our partners over at Esparza. We will look at the data, and if we need to pivot, again, backing off in some markets or expanding to a new set of geographic areas.
Okay. And who will keep track of who's actually moving here?
Oh, that's a good question. So that those are things that, this is, I like to say, and many of us in economic development really refer to economic development as being a really long game. And so when it comes to measuring the success of this campaign, I mean, we will see successes in, in the near year, but also the goal is, in total success is going to happen over time and will happen probably over the next 10 years.
Okay. And so you'll see sort of the demand for city services, real estate market, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Our real estate partners, associations, our partners over at Albuquerque Economic Development, again, some of the apartment associations, and again, our realtor partners will be very critical in measuring the success of the campaign.
Okay. Obviously, the housing market is a big deal. Anyone who's shopping for a home right now in Albuquerque is having a tough time. They're paying, according to the Association of Realtors, almost everyone is paying asking price. Quite a few people are paying more, which is an issue. And the median home price rose 20% year over year in April. There's a question I think that needs to be asked about, is it wise to bring more people into that market when we clearly don't have enough housing stock?
Well, from an economic development perspective, and back to the recruitment and expansion of companies like recruitment of Amazon and Netflix, and the expansion of several space technology and manufacturing companies, we really, it is our role, not only in my department, but the other economic development organizations throughout the city and state. It is our role to make sure that they have a robust workforce, and that pipeline, has, as our efforts are to bring jobs, we have to make sure that we're also skilling up workers who live in Albuquerque and throughout the state, but that we're also recruiting workforce in order to maintain, those companies that I mentioned earlier. But back to your question, I mean, it's incumbent upon us and our partners in economic development to work with, our developers to ensure that, that there is housing available as we recruit the workforce to Albuquerque.
Sure. To the extent that you track that, are you able to, do you have a feel for how soon the housing market will begin to ease? I know there are a bunch of factors at play there, and you mentioned that success for you will play out over the course of maybe a decade. I can't imagine this housing market sustaining itself for a decade. Everyone will just sell eventually. But how does that dynamic play out?
Well, sure. Great question. And as we move into the second phase of the campaign, those are things that we will evaluate. And at that point, again, back to, we may, as the, population begins to grow in Albuquerque, and we continue to recruit workforce to the city and to the state, we'll have to pivot, and we'll have to include, housing as part of our strategic initiatives and economic development. And so I can't say how that it'll play out in the next couple of months, but it will definitely be a part of phase 2 in the campaign, and happy to come back to you and share more as that strategy is being worked on and built out.
Sure. What do you hope these folks do, especially the telecommuters? What do you hope that they do once they're in Albuquerque? Say you get a successful person, what's sort of a best case scenario for you, for the person who moves here? What do they bring to the city?
So great question. So we do know that Albuquerque is poised to really meet this current moment, thanks to many of our strengths. We talk a lot about the great outdoors, 4 seasons, a wonderfully, temperate climate, 300 plus days of sunshine, great, Albuquerque is really a dream for outdoor enthusiasts, and the city is home to an array of recreational options, from hiking, golfing, skiing. And so truly, what we're looking is we want that remote worker to not only, make Albuquerque home, but we want them to bring, so a remote worker that brings a job with them to Albuquerque. I mean, the ultimate goal is for them to spend money in our city and to contribute to gross receipts taxes, and to frequent our local restaurants. And maybe a remote worker will temporarily, reside in one of our hotels and then eventually decide to move here permanently. And so the goal always of economic development is to bring outside money into the city and into the state. And so the same goal, the goal remains with the remote worker, is for them to bring their work with them and their money from outside of the city and outside of the state. And we want them to again, spend money in our local restaurants, frequent our small businesses, and again, ultimately make Albuquerque their home for life. And some remote workers they'll bring their job with them, their remote work, but they may find another opportunity with a company that maybe we've recently recruited to Albuquerque.
Okay. If we could just take about a minute here and think a little bit more broadly. Obviously, we have constraints in terms of things like water. I look at the vista behind you, and the west side obviously has room to grow, but the east side is sort of smack up against the mountains. Is there a way to think about economic development that doesn't involve necessarily growing population? I know that's certainly the traditional way to do it. But is there a way to find that outside money that might not necessarily rely on bringing more people?
Sure, certainly. I mean, absolutely. We have so many, not only tech startups, but creative startups in the city of Albuquerque and throughout the state. And in addition to recruiting new businesses and recruiting workforce to the city, we want to recruit investment. And so as we launch this campaign, the goal is also to catch the eye of the investor who is looking to invest in the next, most innovative startup. And so that is another way, is to seek investment outside of the city and outside of the state. And if we can find, outside investment to support our locally homegrown tech and creative startups, absolutely. That's another way to promote economic development without necessarily, recruiting new workforce or new people to move to the city.
Sure. Well, Cynthia Jaramillo, we look forward to catching up with you a few months down the road to see how things are going, but we thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
2021 is already a record year for murders in Albuquerque, and we're not even halfway through. This past weekend, there were 2 killings in less than 12 hours, and the second death brought the total so far to 50. That's twice as many murders as we had at this point last year. Now, Albuquerque's police chief says many cities are seeing similar rise in violent crime this year, including Portland, where a new study by the Major Cities Chief Association found the homicide rate had jumped by more than 1,100% this year. That study found our homicide rate up 75%. But again, that was before this weekend's violent outburst. And Dan, we've been talking about this for a long time, about violence in Albuquerque here on this show and other places, and yet the numbers continue to climb. What are we missing as a city? What's your take on this?
Yeah, we don't have enough time to have that conversation, Gene.
I hear you.
It's a problem. We have an unbelievable problem with, getting mental health services to people in this state. They all seem to get dumped in Albuquerque, and this is the place it comes. When folks get released from incarceration, this seems to be a key place to drop them off with no real opportunities and hopes to go forward. It's just, and all of this, and, we're unveiling a task force to go after drag racers in the streets, right? Look, drag racing in the streets is a bad deal, but, we've got to get serious.
Let me ask you this, Dan. A violence intervention program spokesperson, you particularly want your opinion here, says less than 0.1% of the population is behind the majority of the violent crimes here in Albuquerque. Wouldn't that say this would be easier to get your arms around if you know who these people are, down to less than 1%?
Yeah, it depends on, I don't know where they got their statistics, so it depends on, what the answer is to that, right? If you're going to say it's all one ethnic group or it's all one gender, or it becomes a really difficult situation to address that. But we've seen the continued failed policies in Albuquerque, right? We looked at what they did with the minis, right? They were going to shut down the one gas station and let them sell them 3 blocks away. We seem to have a very reactive response to crime in the city, and not a very proactive response. And I'm not saying this to be, a platitude. I think if anything can bring people together across party lines, it's realizing that there's a crime problem. We have to have a significant conversation that includes not only incarceration but rehabilitation.
Gotcha.
I mean, the answer can't be lock everybody up. The answer's got to be, how do you get the real bad guys off the streets,
right,
and how do you get the non-bad guys back to being productive members of society? And it seems it's always an either-or conversation, not only in New Mexico but across the country. We're either all about locking people up or we're all about letting people out, and we've got to get off that mark.
I hear that. Eric, some people are saying that defund the police and other efforts are actually hampering police efforts out there. Is this a Trojan horse? Is this just, or red herring, probably a better way to say it? What's the true feeling out there with this kind of thing?
I think it's, again, that's a convenient sort of talking point from folks who want to kind of exploit that as a political message. The research on this is actually pretty well known. One of the biggest predictors is of homicide rates, which is what we started out talking about, is how many guns you have in your community, right? How liberal your gun policy is, not the opposite. So some of the folks on the right who really are, including Sheriff Gonzalez, who's been a big, First Amendment city or Second Amendment city, we're gonna protect everybody's rights to own guns. And even if you listen to some folks in law enforcement, the fact that we've had so many law enforcement had so much problems assuming everybody's armed, and so you have more guns, you have more police get shot, you have more people shooting each other and killing each other, you have higher lethal domestic violence rates. So we like to talk about good guys and bad guys or bad hombres and all this. The truth is, the very folks who were talking about being tough on crime are, I think, largely responsible for the proliferation of guns in this community and all across the country. I agree with Dan. Drug issues. There's a big addiction problem in this community, like a lot of communities. We absolutely have to address the mental health crisis, which is another part of this, right? And then all of the underlying issues. So nobody's pro-crime. I mean, everybody wants to feel safe in their communities. But the question is, again, and I think this is going to play out in this upcoming mayor's race. I think it's going to play out in the 2022 elections. Is if this message we heard from Mark Moores and Republicans, all crime all the time, and we've got to lock them up, and we don't need cameras, we don't need body cameras, we just have to lock everybody up. As to Dan's earlier point, I think that's not a good strategy. I mean, we have some serious systemic issues that we have to look at and try to address, right? Including the lack of opportunities, the lack of mental health services, the lack of drug interdiction, or drug treatment and rehabilitation services. Those are all things we can address. And I really feel strongly that we have to have an honest conversation about the proliferations of guns here, and the fact that people in law enforcement who know this is a problem, Sheriff Gonzalez is chief among them, that they should be the ones saying, look, my people aren't safe because there's this proliferation of guns, and people are, most of these crimes, if you look at the data, they're not dying from beatings, they're not dying from stabbings, they're dying from the gun injuries, right?
That's a good point there. Mental health issues has come up from both these fellas already, and resources have been a big issue for a long time here in New Mexico. It's going to be more crucial coming out of the 14 months of isolation, I should add, from COVID-19. Are we ready to deal with all of this? When you look at the landscape of what the city's going to do, the county's looking to do, this new violence intervention program that was referenced a second ago, is it a little bit under? Are we in the sweet spot here in making progress? What's your overall take on it?
Well, first of all, the statistic is, some cities, their homicide rate's gone up 1,100%. Ours has only gone up 75%. Well, our homicide rate was already high. So
thank you.
The thing that no one has addressed across different administrations, DOJ reforms, no one's really tried to fix the culture of law enforcement here. If you look at the hostility to the DOJ reforms, the millions of dollars we're spending on it, and still very little being done. The opportunity to bring in a fresh approach from a different city that has done much to resolve its violent crime issues, and instead we hired within our own. If you look at the systemic issues of prosecuting violent crime in the DA office, whether it was Brandenburg or Torres, we have a cultural problem with managing crime, and no one seems willing to address that head on. We keep doing thing with the same people and the same management. And until we really take that on, and that is the mayor, that is the police union, that is the chief of police, that is embracing the DOJ reform, that is competent prosecution, that is police officers showing up to hearings to avoid dismissal of charges, that's huge. And I think what we just saw in the Raver murder acquittal, when we can't prosecute adequately or competently, but we still we have a DA who still thinks he can run for AG, we've got a problem. And I think and adding to proliferation of weapons, poverty, a poor education system, dropouts, unemployment, all of this adds up to where we are at a tipping point of an intolerable homicide rate in Albuquerque. And we've been talking about it for years on this show, but no one in the city seems to really address the problem.
It's a frightening rate compared to where we were last year. It's unbelievable. We're out of time, unfortunately. This is one of those ongoing topics we'll revisit before long. Thanks to all our panelists. A few final thoughts in a moment. The ABQ Home for Life idea is interesting and timely. Note the recent reporting on the dropping of birth rates across the country, New Mexico included, and the census revelation that very few folks moved into our state over the last decade. All this makes the need to be in front of people's faces in places where folks are looking to leave. It makes it critical. We have lost a good number of younger New Mexicans over that same decade, and frankly, we need to replenish that age group. Now, if I do have a rub with the effort, it's who ABQ Home for Life has chosen to represent as recent move-ins on their website. They are primarily white and notably from Los Angeles. In fact, the video looks like it's for LA eyes and wallets, and that feels like too small of a pool in my gut. Now, we have recent transplants from all over the world that would make for a much richer, much more dynamic pitch, something beyond less traffic and cheaper houses, which are cliched lifestyle data points. We have much more at our disposal here than commute times and median prices because people on the move currently are looking for more than that. They want to be a part of something, and they want to contribute along the way. So if it's inarguable that the search for talent is a global one, then so too should be our pitch. Something with an implied global appeal that openly and proudly states everyone is welcome, so come be a part of this, because you can thrive here being exactly who you are. Thanks again for joining us and for staying informed and engaged. We'll see you again next week in Focus.
Funding for New Mexico in Focus provided by the McCune Charitable Foundation and viewers like you.